Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and my craft table. And if you're new, my name is Jen. I'm really glad to meet you. So this box right here was sent to me from my bestie, Kristen. She is the creator over at Crafting with Kristen Adams, and I will link her channel down in my description below. But essentially, we thought it would be fun to come up with a variety of crafts, put it all together in a box, send it to each other, and see what the other person creates with those supplies. So my box has already been received by her, and this is the box that I got from her today, and I'm so excited to open this with you. So let's go ahead and see what she has sent me. Okay, so first I have a sweet little note. And oh my goodness, she has her own personal stationery. I love that. And guys, let's just appreciate her handwriting. Isn't that just gorgeous handwriting? Really, I love it. Okay, Kristen, let me open this box and see what we have in store. Okay, I'm excited because I see fabric and I don't have a ton of fabric in my craft room. So let's see, right here in front. So these directions right here are actually for, it looks like these wood pumpkins and the napkins, the string, and then her suggestion is to also incorporate some fabric. And so basically I can make a fall garland. How fun. And these, I love this. This is gorgeous. I love the coordinating baker's twine. And so I think definitely that will absolutely be on the crafting list first thing. Okay, so then we have some ribbon. We have bats. We have a gingham, actually two different ones. And then we have a ribbon that says Happy Halloween. That's so cute. I love that. But these will be put to good use as well. Okay, next we have some embroidery hoops. And I actually am learning, I say embroidery, but I'm learning how to stitch embroidery things on felt and on cardstock actually. So super fun. I'm really getting into stitching crafts. So her suggestion is to create a fabric pumpkin embroidery hoop, and she has the directions for that. Love that. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we have the embroidery hoop. We have some stuffing to make it three-dimensional. And then it looks like here, let's see, we've got some polka dot fabric. We have some white felt. Oh, we have glitter HTV. Guys, you know, glitter is my favorite color, so that's fantastic. I'm gonna set that off to the side. And then, okay, so these here, and it looks like there's a variety of fabrics for me to choose from. I love plaid and tartan kind of fabrics, so this is gorgeous. And I do love a navy or midnight blue for fall and Christmas. I think it's just so fun, and it's something unexpected. That's fantastic. I love that. And then we've got some regular orange. We have pumpkins. How cute. And then, oh, how darling. Check this out, y'all. Oh, look at this. It's like a recipe for pumpkin pie. How cute is that? I definitely might have to make something with that. All right. And then we've got this oh, this is beautiful. So we've got like a farmhouse, fall vibes kind of pumpkin truck going on. Oh, I love that too. That's fantastic. Okay, so these fabrics are fabulous. And you know, she is an amazing seamstress slash embroidery wizard. So I'm so thankful that she shared some of her fabric stash with me. That is amazing. Okay, and then this one, look at this charger plate, y'all. Check this out. Okay, this is so fancy. Oh my gosh, I love this. I wish I could go get a whole set of these. These are so pretty. I love that. Okay, so it is, I want to say it's like, 13 inches. So it's a charger plate. All right, we can definitely do either some Halloween or some fall on here. And then she did send some adhesive vinyl. So we've got black and yellow and orange. How wonderful. Love this. Okay, well, Kristen, this was an amazing box. You completely outdid yourself, and I am definitely not worthy of all of these little crafty gifts. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to gather my thoughts. I'm going to pour a few cups of coffee and marinate on all of these things. And then we will start crafting with all of these amazing supplies that Kristen sent over to me. Stay put, grab something to drink, and in a minute, we will get crafting. All right, well, while I go get a cup of coffee and think about all of these craft supplies, grab your craft supplies that you're working on, grab some extra coffee or whatever your favorite beverage is, and then meet me right back here and we'll get started on crafting. So for the first craft, I thought I would go ahead and start with the banner or garland, whatever you want to refer to it as. But I'm going to use these little pumpkins here. And let me show you the other things that I have ready. So I am going to be using the napkins that Kristen sent. And of course, the baker's twine. That's what will hold my banner together. And I have some ribbon that I'm going to tie onto the banner as we go. I have Modge Podge and a little foam brush. I do have something here. Now I made this on my Locklick laser engraver. So this is just a little fall vibes to go on one of the pumpkins in the middle. I am going to go ahead and stain this. I have some water-based stain by Waverly, Wax Inspirations. It is an antique wax color, and I'm thinking I'm going to put that onto the fall vibes. And then I have some baby wipes to assist me in doing that. And then out to the side, I do have my Easy Press Mini, just in case I decide I need to apply a little bit of heat to the napkins. And then I have a little Teflon sheet just in case. And of course, I have scissors. All right, let's go ahead and start getting these ready. Okay, so these little pumpkins came from Hobby Lobby, and there's 12 pieces. And I would say that the size of these, they are approximately 4 inches wide. And if you include the stem, they're 3.5 inches tall. And if you don't include the stem, they're about 3 inches tall. The next thing before we do any Mod Podging is we need to take the napkins and separate them from their lower layer. Sometimes you'll get a 3 or even a 4-ply napkin, and you want to make sure that you go all the way down to 1 ply. I can get 2 on this side, and then this side is upside down, so I could get 2 over there. So it looks like I'm going to need a total of 3 napkins. So I'll go ahead and pull those off. I am going to take all of these napkins. I'm going to stack them on top of each other. And I'm going to just make 2 cuts. I'm going to cut it down the center on both the vertical and the horizontal. Okay, so now we have 4 piles. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take each of these and we're going to paint them with a really good coating of Mod Podge. Okay, the other thing that I have here is I have one of my old light grip mats, and I kept it because I thought it might be coming in handy, like if I wanted to do some painting or something. There's hardly any stick on there. I mean, these don't move very much, but the stick is pretty much gone, and this mat has seen better days, so I decided just to recycle it. So now I can go ahead and get all of these pumpkins painted. Let me roll up my sleeve there. So we'll give them a good coating. And then if it gets onto the mat, I'm not worried about the mat. All right, now we have 3 of them done so far. So I'm going to take each of these little 1-ply napkins and I'm going to lay it on top of the pumpkin, and you can see through it so you can kind of figure out what you want where. I'm going to grab my brayer and I'm just going to brayer this down before I go over it with some extra Mod Podge. We'll just get a little bit and we're just going to go over the napkin just like this. Get that on there. Okay. And since this is a kind of a fall, very rustic kind of design, I'm not going to worry too much about any small little wrinkles or ripples. Oh, look at that. These are multiple ply. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so you can see the napkin actually goes on there quite well. I was wondering why it seemed to not want to lay down. Let's start this over with. All right, so before I put these down on the Mod Podge, I need to pull off the second ply. So you can tell because this has like a white layer to it and this does not. So these are actually 3-ply napkins. So I need to go through, and this is the tedious part, if you want to call it that, but I need to separate that second layer. Okay, so these are all ready to go now. I'm going to bring in this here. These actually have a slight layer of Mod Podge on them. Okay, so I'm going to lay this down, and I'm going to lay this down. Okay, I'm going to turn my Easy Press Mini on. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and get a little bit of this glue down on here. I'm thinking maybe I let this glue dry too long. Okay, so we're going to cover a pumpkin. Then we're going to lay down our little napkin on top. Okay, that looks great. And I'm not going to worry too much about any tiny little, you know, the little wrinkles. All right, so I'm going to let that hang out for a second. Grab this blob of glue, get that here onto the pumpkin instead of onto my mat. Okay, let's do kind of like that. So each one of these can get a different way about them. Okay. All right, this is so much better. So I don't do a ton of napkin crafts, but they are fun and they are extremely cost effective. Okay. All right, so we're gonna let that one hang out there. We're gonna let this one hang out there. And that definitely works so much better, is to put down the glue on your pumpkins, then lay the napkin, then put a little more glue with the brayer. After you put that after you first put it on, brayer it down. Okay, so I am done with all of the gluing. So I'm just going to clean up here with a little baby wipe and definitely seem to get into more of a rhythm, but still an easy craft. Again, I'm not someone who normally does napkin crafts, even though I love the fun napkins. So I just used a baby wipe, got that all cleaned up. I'm going to grab a little cloth here to dry off my glass mat. And I'm really glad that I had that old Cricut mat. That came in handy because I would have had glue everywhere. Oh, goodness. Okay, so next, I think what I'm going to do is bring in my little Teflon sheet, and I'm going to kind of go over each one of these little pumpkins with a spot of heat. Okay, and then this last one here, this first one, you know, the first one that I messed up, this last one here, this is the one that I'm going to use to cover with the fall vibes, because you can see the original napkin that is under there. So I'm going to set that to the side. All right, so my easy press is done, and I'm just going to cover this with a little Teflon sheet. I picked it up from the Dollar Tree and just cut down a 12 by 12 square, and then I cut a little piece off as well. Okay. All right, that just kind of smoothed out any bumps and wrinkles that I might have had. So that was a great idea. So if you're someone who wants a super smooth finish and it doesn't need very much heat, it's on low. And I'm just going along. Okay, that one, I don't know that that one was quite as dry as it needed to be. So we might hit that again. So yes, I would say make sure that it's pretty dry before you do this step here. Okay, these are super dry and ready to go. The others can hang out. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear off the excess, just like this, nice and easy. And then I am going to grab, I could have sworn that I brought it into the craft room, but I guess I did not. I'm going to grab a little nail file, and that way I can just kind of buff off these edges. So this year is going to be quite a different year. It is literally going to be just us for Thanksgiving. which is not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, not necessarily a bad thing. But I'm trying to decide what would be fun to do, and I'm not real sure. Okay, those are dry and ready. These are going to be ones that need a little bit of heat. So we could just do, you know, a quiet little dinner here. And so I've got to think about that. What do you guys do for Thanksgiving? Do you have a big production? We normally have a big production. That's why this is, big productions are stressful, to be honest, but this year we're not having any production. So I don't know, maybe that's just as stressful as a big production. You know, ultimately, I am thankful for my health. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for God's grace and mercy. Thankful for my job. So many things to be thankful for. So that really is the focus. And let me see if I can find my little nail file. Okay, so these are the ones that need to be heat treated. I'll leave that over there. And these right here are ready to go. So I'm really just going to take a nail file and I'm just going to do this along the edges. That's kind of annoying. I'm going to put on some music so that you don't have to listen to all of that scratching. Okay, I've got all of these sanded off with my little nail file here. And then, of course, this is kaput. It's one of those ones, like my daughter got like a nail kit or something and it came in there. But I just find that like these little cheap nail files, they just do so good. Those have already been heated. I do need to clean off the mat with all this dust. So just grabbing my little vacuum here. So we got that. I can go ahead and get rid of that nail file, I think. All right, these are the ones that need to be heat treated. So let's do that super fast. And just kind of smoothed out. We'll just smooth out all that stuff. And I just want to do this kind of fast, not anything too long on here. Okay. Here's another. So I'd say if you decide to do this craft, have something fun to watch while you're painting and or gluing and sanding. But super easy. This is even something that you could do with kids. Like they could do the painting and the I say painting, you know, painting the glue on. They could do that piece and you could help them with the napkins depending on their age. And then you could do the sanding or teach them how to do the sanding. That would be okay. All right. Okay, I'm loving this pumpkin pattern. Seriously, this is just super fun. And I've got, you know, a few strings here or there, but not big deal. These worked super well. I think I have something on my Easy Press Mini. I will need to clean that when it's cool. All right, so here's our main one that we need to worry with. These are all ready to go. These look so pretty. This is that antique wax. Okay, and this, like when I say very minimal, Yeah, I mean super minimal. So I'm going to, actually I'm going to use that little bubble, but I'm just getting the smallest amount that I possibly can. And I'm just going to use this baby wipe, and I am literally barely brushing that on. And I don't want it super dark, but this not only helps achieve a lighter coat, but it really kind of, it dries really fast. So this was the back side, and that's the front side. You can see the big difference. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this baby wipe, and I'm just going to kind of go around the edges and kind of over the top, and then just splotchy. I don't even want it solid or anything, just enough to kind of give some depth and dimension to the pumpkins, and more so around the edges than anything. Oh, so back to that earlier conversation. Let me know down in the comments, like what do you and your family normally do for Thanksgiving? All right, so those are all done. I am going to go quickly wash my hands. I am all cleaned up. My craft space is all cleaned up. And now it is time to get our banner put together. I thought it would be fun to do that, kind of give it a 3D element. I do have my glue gun heating up here off to the side. I think I'm going to use that to put all of the things together on the string. But this particular glue, this is called Fabrifix, and it is permanent fabric adhesive. But I'm going to put a little bit on the back of this wood. But you know how hot glue like dries really fast, and if you don't get it put down right away, then sometimes it just, so it'll give me a little more time. Okay. And I'm going to put this down. Okay, I'm going to hold that down, and let's grab, I have like this little dry brush. I'm going to, any glue strings that are anywhere, this will take care of those. Okay. All right. That looks super good. I love that. All right, that is fantastic. So let me put this up here. Let's get out our twine. Okay, we've got quite a bit of twine to work with, and I'm definitely not an amazing bow maker yet. So we'll just do a little simple rustic bow. All right, so the next thing is just to get these on here. How far do we want these to hang off? We'll go about right there. Okay, and I'm going to put a bit of hot glue right here. And then we can stick this right in there, just like that. All right, now that's how we're going to do that. All right, so let's see. I think what I want to do is I'm going to have my pumpkin. I'm going to have a piece of ribbon here. And let's see. Then we'll have our other pumpkin. So I'm going to bring that underneath. Just like that. Okay, so I think this is how I'm going to space them out and get these onto all of my pumpkins. And so this is representing where I'm going to put like a little ribbon. Okay, made it to the last pumpkin. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. You can see all the chaos I have going on here, but so I was having so much fun gluing that I totally forgot to leave a space for the fall vibes. So I had to take one off. We're going to get all of that put back on. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here is one of my pumpkins. This is where a ribbon is going to go. And then my fall vibes will go here. And then I should have plenty of room on the other end. So here is the 5th pumpkin. And then my ribbon will go there. So this one is the fall vibes. Give it a good blob of hot glue. There, this is my fall vibes. This is my ribbon. So then this is where my next pumpkin goes back in. So let's get that down. Get that nice and secured again. Okay, I'm just going to kind of put that there. And then I've got these hanging out on there. And I thought it would be neat to take the gingham, okay, so the orange gingham and the chiffon, and we're going to put them together, and then I want to, if possible, kind of fold it in half a little bit. Now, if 2 of them prove to be too difficult, then I'll just take off the one. Okay, so we're going to put our folded in half ribbon. We're going to put it over our baker's twine. I'm going to bring the tails from the back. I'm going to bring them up and through the loop. And then I'm going to just pull them tight. And we're going to pull them straight down to tighten them up. Okay. So kind of like this. Let's go ahead and take care of that. I think I'm going to do another one of these, the double ones on this side. And then after that, I'm just going to alternate. All right, so there's that. And those are the ones that I want around the fall vibes. I want them to have double. So then we'll just move on. So here is my little garland. I think this is super cute, and I've just alternated. So on the ends, I have a double, so the gingham and the chiffon. And then in between the pumpkins, I'm alternating between the chiffon and the gingham. And then we do that all the way until we get to these 2 on either side of fall vibes. I have both of them. And then alternating again this way until we get to the end where again I have a double. How fun is this? All right, well that is all for this craft. So let's move on to our next one. All right, for my next craft, I think I'm going to use this gorgeous fabric that she sent over. Just take a look at this. This is just beautiful. I love this vintagey look to it. We're going to be using this particular fabric, and we're going to choose that here and choose the piece of it that we want in a little bit. But I'm going to reuse a blank that I have used before. I have a little bit of tape runner here because today's design, I'm actually going to be able to undo it later if I want to use this again. And then I've got a gold or a orange ribbon that has a gold string through, or actually it's more like an iridescent when I hold it to the light.
a string going through the ribbon. And then I've got some chiffon ribbon in a dark green and a teal blue. And then I also have one of these because I thought that it might be neat to add the word autumn somewhere on there, or maybe crisp mornings. Okay, I'm gonna grab my self-healing mat here. This is so I can cut the fabric. Now, before I actually cut this fabric, let's take this apart so that I can see how much, like what it will look like in the frame. I'm going to actually hold on to that for a moment. But in the meantime, this is our frame. And what I want to do is decide, like, do we like this viewing? That one's cute too. Oh, that's actually kind of pretty. Okay, I think that's what I want to do. So let me grab a rotary cutter. This is actually just a cheap little rotary cutter. So I'm gonna give it a try. If not, if it doesn't work very well, then I will go ahead and use my scissors. So let's see, we're gonna be using this. Is there one that is kind of on the edge? This is kind of more on the edge. And that way I can utilize this fabric for something else too. Okay, so we're gonna need like that. And I'm gonna wanna not have that. Let me zoom in for you really quick. Here we go, that's a little better. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to just run the rotary cutter. Let's see if it works. I'm just going to go right along the edge. Oh, that did a pretty good job. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I do have a Fisker's rotary tool, but when we moved into this house, I boxed up so much, and quite frankly, I think it's probably still in the box somewhere. Okay, so we know that we don't want that truck. So I'm going to bring in this ruler right here, and I'm going to use it as a guide, and I want to go along the edge of my ruler with the rotary, and then this comes away. All right. So that is going to be on the bottom. Okay. And then where do we want the side? Okay, so 4 5/8 puts me literally right under that tire. I am not going to cut that. I'm going to let that be. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my fabric here. I am going to cut the corners, so kind of like a miter. I'm just cutting the fabric, not the little board underneath. Okay. So this is just a piece of cardstock that I had put this on. And I'm going to leave that in here. I don't think can you see through there? Actually, I think you can. So we're going to put it like this. So the edge of the cardboard is over here. The edge is here. All right. I'm going to pick that up and I'm going to turn this over just like that. All right. And then I'm just going to put a little bit along the top. So we're going to fold this down. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to trim that away, and I'm going to trim that piece away. I don't want it to be too bulky. Actually, let me do it like this. This might be better. This is how I do my shaker cards. So I kind of get rid of that corner. Okay. And then I'm going to go along here. And we're going to fold that in. Okay. I have a little piece over here that looks a little off. However, I think it's going to be covered up by the frame. So if it is, I won't worry about it. But what I am going to do is have my Fabri-Tac glue handy. Okay, we're going to bring this down. Then I'm going to place this right in here. Just like that. Yeah, that's going to get covered up by the frame itself. Let's take a look. Oh, look how pretty that is. That's so pretty. All right, then we're going to put in our happily ever after. It's a nice sturdy backer. Pop that in there, push these down. Wonderful, just like that. Turn it over. And then here is our picture. That looks so cute. I love that. Okay. Then when I bring these in, I'm just gonna see. I may forego these crisp mornings. They could go down there. Oh, we could put them here on the frame, actually. That would be okay. I don't like it on the fabric. But what do we think about this? Actually, I kind of like that. Crisp mornings. And that would easily come off of the frame, so I don't have to worry about anything permanent. And then I want to put like a little, I say rustic, but like a little shabby bow over there. Okay, I decided to go ahead and go with the blue chiffon ribbon and then this orange one. So I'm going to make 2 fingertip bows. And these, I actually just learned how to do them. So I don't know that I'm the expert, but these are super easy. So this ribbon here is about 18 inches long. I'm going to take about 2 inches, just like that, roughly 2.5 inches. And I'm going to take that amount and I'm going to put it right here on the center of my middle finger. And I'm going to hold that with my thumb, just like that. And then I'm going to make a V, okay? So with my other finger, I'm going to take my ribbon and go around. And then I'm going to come through, so just like that. Then I'm going to go over the middle finger. And then I'm going to come up through, then over my index finger. And then I'm going to come down all the way, okay? Down all the way. And then I'm going to have this hold right here with my thumb. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to take the end and I'm going to stick it right through the V to the back. Okay, pull that through. And then I'm going to bring it up toward the front of my ribbon. Okay, this little loop is created right here. All right. So we're going to go up and over that loop. We're going to go on top of it. And then we're going to stick this end into this back part. So I'm going to put it right in there like that. So I came up and over, and then I'm going to put that into the loop from the back side. So just like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull until it starts to form the center of a bow. And then I'm going to bring down this top piece that I was holding earlier. And again, I'm just going to grab one at a time, and I'm just going to get them where I like it. Okay. And see, so now I have a little fingertip bow. Okay, so I'm going to pull it off of my finger just like that. And
All right, so this little bow is ready and super cute. Okay, so now let's try this with the chiffon ribbon. So I'm going to have about 2-ish inches here. Okay, might be a little more tricky because this ribbon is so flimsy and thin, but I'm going to go up and over and through the V. Now, before I go back down, I want to just slide it there under my thumb, okay? And then I'm going to come down and around, up through the V, over. I'm going to come all the way to the back, okay? And I'm going to come up over this way, okay? Now I'm going to take this end and I'm going to put it here in the V, just like that. So here's my little loop. I'm going to pull it out a little bit. And then for exaggeration purposes, then I'm going to take this part of the ribbon and I'm going to go over and through. So I'm going to come up. I'm going to go over that loop on top of it and then push the end through. And then I'm going to pull and wiggle till it kind of tightens up. Okay, then I'm going to bring this one down. Okay, and I'm going to pull and wiggle on these until I get them the way I want. Okay, and pull it off my fingers. And here is my cute little chenille bow. Oh my goodness, how cute is that? Okay, now I do need to trim off these ends, but before I do that, I'm going to take both of these and I'm going to hot glue them here on the upper right. I'm just going to put a bead of glue right here on this side over here. Now the question is, do I put it on the actual bead itself or just kind of in front of the bead? All right, so I have my hot glue gun here and I'm going to take the frame. I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue just right here. And then we're going to put the blue right here in front of these beads, just like that. Then I'm going to take this one. I just need a little bit. And I'm going to put that, whoa, almost dropped it. There we go. Okay, then I'm going to put that like right on top of there. Hold that in place. Okay, and then obviously these are way too long. So let's go ahead and grab our scissors and we're going to cut these off. So I'll just go about right there. And let me make sure I'm going in the correct direction. There we go. Grab both of these. There we go. Okay. And then this is our cute little fabric picture. How sweet is that? I love that. That is so cute. And I love that fabric. The bows are awesome. And then I think this is fun. It almost reminds me of like a little Polaroid picture from when I was little and I'd go to my grandparents' house and I love to play with their Polaroid camera. And that film is expensive, but they just let me have the time of my life taking all kinds of pictures with that camera. And then they had one of those little things that made the label makers that punched the letters out onto the plastic. So this is just so nostalgic for me. I absolutely love this. All right, well, this project is a success. So let's move on to our next one. Okay, for my third and final craft, we are gonna make some pumpkins
using these embroidery hoops. Aren't these so fun? All right, so I've got my embroidery hoops and I have this beautiful autumn fabric plaid going on. It just makes me think of something that you would find like in Scotland or it's gorgeous, right? Just look at that. So I'm going to take this fabric and make one pumpkin with that. And I've got some felt here. I do have a variety of ribbon and string. I've got a couple of things to make the pumpkin stems. And then I also have, I thought it would be neat to use a piece of paper from this pad for one of the pumpkins. So one will be fabric, one will be paper. And I am going to be using this particular one. Okay, I thought that was a nice complement to this fabric right here. So let's go ahead and start by getting our materials ready. All right, the first thing that I want to do is I want to loosen these embroidery hoops. Okay. And I'm not going to worry about the inside pieces because those will be on this. But on here on the outside, I think I want to go ahead and use that antiquing wax again. Okay. And again, just like earlier in the other craft, don't need very much. And a baby wipe does a great job. Okay. So I'm just going to go along. And I'm really just trying to make it look a little aged. Okay. So it doesn't need a whole lot, just a little bit. Okay. And then you can see it's a subtle difference. It's not a lot, but that's perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the other one. Okay, and then I made that one just slightly darker, so you can tell a little bit of a difference. All right, we're gonna let these pieces dry. So I'll just kind of set them off to the side, and it really does dry pretty quickly. All right, so the next thing then that I want to do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut my fabric. So I think I'm only going to really need part of this. I don't need a lot of it. Oh, this just is gorgeous. It makes me think of a beautiful warm scarf. I'm really wondering if I could make a scarf with this. All right, so this hoop is approximately 5.5 inches wide. All right, so I'm going to grab my little fabric ruler and my rotary blade. Now I want to make this one into like a 3D-ish kind of pumpkin. So I'm going to go ahead and get this. I'm going to cut it bigger. So that way there's a little bit of give and play. Anytime I've ever gone and gotten fabric, I've always thought to myself, wouldn't it be really nice to have a table like the ones at the fabric store where it has the groove in it? That would be awesome. Okay, so I'm doing an 8x8 square, okay, of my fabric. All right, and then I think this is going to be look at that, it's going to be plenty, and I'm going to have plenty of room for what I need to do. All right, the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to take one of these and I want to trace around it. Let me grab a pencil here. Okay, and I'm going to go on the back. All right. So I'm just going to trace around, and I might end up having to trim this a little bit, but that'll be fine. I want it as close to the size as possible. And then I'm going to just use my scissors to cut out this circle. Okay, I think that'll be all right. Okay, so let's kind of put this together. All right, so this is together, and let's see how good of a job I did getting this circle on there. So I think I need to cut a little bit of it off. I'm going to use this. I'm getting it still too big. I'm going to use the inside piece only, and I'm going to go around the circle. Okay, so now when I place this on here, I am definitely not outside of the borders. All right, so I'm gonna let my hot glue gun heat up for just a moment. For this next one, I'm gonna put the inside here. I'm gonna take this. Now, I want this to be like a 3D pumpkin. So I don't want to tighten the fabric too much, but I don't want it to be too loose. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of this fluff, this polyfill, kind of as a guide. Okay. And then we'll adjust all of the sizing in just a little bit, but kind of like that. We're going to put this on top. Okay. And then this is a plaid, so I do have to be mindful of the direction of the fabric. You know, I have to get it to look a little not, you know, like it's not too wonky. Okay. I feel like I need to set the stem. This is going to be like where my stem is, or I guess I could do it like that and put a bow. Oh, that might work. Okay, let's do it like that. Maybe reframe this again. Instead of having this at the top for this one, I'm going to have it at the bottom, but I do want to make sure it kind of lines up a little bit with the fabric. Okay, we're going to push some of that fabric through, just a little bit. Okay, that's great. Now we're going to stick all of this polyfill in here. And we're going to see how much of a fluffy pumpkin that we want. And then we're going to be tacking all this down. That might be a little too much right there. So I think my glue gun is ready. Now, I have it laying flat on my table, but we're going to be pushing that fluff out to the front. Okay. So I'm really just tacking this fabric into place more than anything. Okay, so this will be our little pumpkin. Everything's gonna push out from the front, and that looks really cute. All right, so let's talk about this felt. Okay, so I'm thinking that this felt is gonna go on the back. All right, so like that. We need to cut out our felt fabric. Okay. All right. So now what I am going to do is I'm going to round this off here at this top. Okay. We're going to slowly make our way around, and I'm just going to use this felt as a backer for my pumpkin, and we're going to get this glued on. Okay, so I have all of it encased. I did have to go change my Band-Aid because the fabric of my Band-Aid and the hot glue were not playing very nice with each other. Now, what I'm doing right now is I'm just going through, and if there's any like little stray fibers of hot glue, I'm just pulling them off with my True Control knife. You could, instead of doing the felt on the back, which I do like, but if you did not want to do that, you could cut a piece of craft board, kind of like, you know, like a cereal box type material, crackers. I have a ton of craft board. You could even cut a circle out of balsa wood or basswood. You could just use some more fabric and have a double-sided pumpkin. Okay, so either way, here we go. There's our little pumpkin. Okay, and then we need to put a stem on this pumpkin. And I think I'm going to put bows down here on the bottom. So my thought was I would have the little pumpkin right up here. And then I'm wondering if that is too tall. Let me grab my miter shears. Okay, so I'm thinking that I want to cut this down. I mean, that's kind of tall, but if I had it a little bit shorter, so I'm going to use these miter shears and see about cutting it down. And then we'll get this way. Whoop, there we go. Okay, well, we've got our little pumpkin stem. So let's put this on the top. It is so chilly here that my hot glue is literally steaming. Isn't that crazy? Okay, so we're gonna put that there, and then I'm gonna take this baker's twine and we're gonna put this around our little pumpkin stem. All right, I'm gonna start here on the back. Give it a little bit of hot glue there. Get this on there. Okay, so I think that is probably plenty. And I'm just gonna tie that on to the back here. And then we're gonna snip that off. Okay, so here is our little pumpkin stem. And then next we need to put some bows, ribbon, something or other. Okay, so now I'm going to leave a couple of inches, put it on my middle finger, make a V, come around, come down, come down. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of do it again. So over and under, over and under again. I'm going to hold that into place. I'm going to stick this through the V, kind of making like a big fluffy bow. Hopefully it'll work. If not, we'll just make several. Okay, I'm going to take this end and I'm going to come up over this loop and push it through. So just like that. And then I'm going to pull, wiggle it until it turns tight. Grab this other one. I'm going to bring this down. There we go. Looks pretty good. We've got some little strays. It's the only thing about chiffon ribbon is all the strays. And then there are lots of loops in here now. Instead of just 2 on each side, there's like 4 on each side. So I'm just opening these up. So now there's 4 little loops over there. I'm going to do the same thing here. So now here's our little bow and we have 4 loops on either side. Okay, I'm going to put this over here just to kind of hide that silver behind the white a little bit. And use up this tiny little scrap piece that, quite frankly, I really can't use for any other thing. And then this is going to sit in a wreath in a couple of days. And that'll be cute. Then I can cut this side off like that, and that side off like that. Okay, so here is our little 3D pumpkin. Let's set that aside for right now. Okay, so the next pumpkin is going to be the one that has the paper. Now, I am going to use this glue because I don't want to have a bunch of hot glue seeping out. Okay, so I think I'm just going to go around this little rim. Okay. And then we're going to take this. There's really not a direction to it, but there kind of is at the same time. And then we're just going to set this down. Kind of tack that into place. Turn it over. And there we go. That looks fantastic. Okay, so we're getting a completely different vibe today, and that's great. And then I want to take this and put it right here in the middle. So I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just take a little bit of this glue. I mean, I could use tape runner, I could use foam panel, but I think I'm just going to put it right here. Just like that. I'm going to put a tiny little bow on that pumpkin. So back to our regularly scheduled program. I'm loving these little bows. You could totally make a ton for little girls. Okay, so about 2 inches-ish. Middle finger over my index finger, through, down and around, up through, over, down, and hold with the thumb, push it through the V, pull it through and up to the top here. And then I'm going to go over this loop and push that through there, and then wiggle and tighten. Bring this top one down, get that all tightened.
this cute little double bow here, just like that. And then I will put a little bit of glue right there. We will push this down on top of that. Okay. Oh, I just moved it. Maybe we'll do hot glue on that one. There we go. Let's see. Has that stayed yet? It has not. Let's grab our hot glue. Put a little bit of hot glue here. And then we're going to stick that bow right down in there. Perfect. That looks so cute. All right. Now I have this gingham ribbon here. This is the last of the gingham ribbon. And I'm thinking that we need to have a hanger. Okay. So I'm going to turn, I'm going to turn this over, straighten that up, and then we're just going to get our little hanger back here. So we'll put a little bit of hot glue there. And we will put a little bit of hot glue over here. Okay. And then we can just snip off that side. And then we can snip off that side. There we go. Okay, so here is this little pumpkin. Okay, so we're going to put this down. And then we're going to get this hot glued here on the back. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue right here. There we go. That side definitely looks better than the other side over there on the left, but that is okay. All right, so we have this little pumpkin here and this little pumpkin right there. Okay, here are our two sweet little pumpkins. Very different styles for both of them. Couple of new techniques, but oh, how fun. Okay, here are all of the projects that were done today. I am so excited about these. A lot of these were definitely not something that I normally do, so I am so pleased at how they came out. These were fantastic to add to my fall lineup. So the first thing was the pumpkins from Hobby Lobby, the little basswood pumpkins that you can pick up. So we did the Modge Podge with the napkins on top, put a little antique wax staining on there, and then put them all on a white and craft colored baker's twine, and then added some gingham and chiffon ribbon. So I did kind of an alternating pattern with that. So we've got both ribbons on either side of the fall vibes. And then after that, just did an alternating pattern of one or the other. So either the gingham or the chiffon. And then at the very end, I added another double. And I think this turned out so good. I'm going to hang this up in probably my craft room for a while, and then I'll probably take it downstairs to the living room. It's just adorable. The next thing is I love this fabric that had all of these beautiful vintage farm scenes with all the pumpkins and the old time vehicles, etc. So I reused a blank I have used before on my channel and just love it. I took the fabric and I sized it down, folded it over, used some tape runner. Crisp mornings, I love that right there. And then a couple of these cute little finger bows. And I'm really glad I chose to use the light blue instead of the dark green. So this is super cute. And this will look great in my kitchen. And then finally, these embroidery hoop pumpkins. So we have one here that this is a paper craft with a pumpkin, and this is an actual pumpkin. It's a 3D fabric pumpkin using that embroidery hoop. And then just got the baker's twine again for the hanger and to put around the little cardboard that I used for the stem. So these all came out great. I cannot wait to put these up. These will all be going up in the house on November 1st. Let me know down in the comments which of these crafts is your favorite. I'm having a really hard time deciding which is my favorite. So I just don't know. Oh yeah, I can't decide. They're all my favorite. So let me know down in the comments which one is your favorite. All right, well, that's all for today. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I greatly appreciate you being here for just crafting and chatting away. Don't forget to like the video. It really does help the channel out. And down in the comments, let me know which of these is your favorite. I'm having a really hard time choosing just one, so I think they're all my favorite today. Let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite. So until I see you in the next card or craft, have an amazing day and happy crafting.
Thank you all so much for watching today. I'm so glad that you can join me at my craft table. If you're not already, I'd love to have you as a subscriber, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you'll know when new videos arrive. Have a great day, and as always, happy crafting.